Well, guys, it's been another excellent episode of the Traitors. We are almost halfway through this show, and the show does not seem to be giving us even a moment to breathe without twists, turns, arguments, fallouts, all this crazy stuff and more coming up in today's episode. But before we get into all of that, I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support on these videos. It's been crazy to watch like the first episode get like 300 views in a day to now getting a whole 1,000 views in a video before we've even hit 24 hours. That is absolutely crazy, and that is all thanks to you guys and your continued support. So if you are new to the channel and this is your first time joining us, my name is Ethan, and make sure to subscribe because there's plenty more Traitors content coming up soon. Without much further ado, let us get into the video and start talking some very interesting suspicions. So we found out who they decided to seduce, and it was Anna. Now, obviously, Anna was not the smart pick here. The smart pick was Fozia. If you wanted to blackmail somebody or get them onto your side, you wouldn't go for somebody that has just been in the spotlight, because they're going to sit there and they're going to be like, hang on a minute, they're only wanting me up in that traitor's tower so that they can throw me under the bus and send me on my way. That's the only reason why they wanted Anna, and it did feel frustrating that they chose her, because I felt like they just threw away a whole night. And it seems stupid because Mina's been playing this game so well. Linda has been doing well, bless her. But Mina has been playing this so well that I think that that was an absolute mistake. A real big mistake. But what are you going to do about it? The thing is, I feel like Anna should have picked up on the fact that on the little slip, it said something along the lines of like, because you are strong, independent. And then it said women. Not woman, women, which I feel like was a huge, massive clue, or should have been a huge, massive clue to Anna. However, she hasn't brought up that part of the Traitors letter, so I'm assuming she hasn't clocked that it's only women up in the tower. So far, they have banished 3 men, 1 woman. No, 2 women, 3 men. The numbers on my hands are not matching what I'm saying. I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place today. It is important to note that these faithfuls still seem to think that there's a male in the game. I don't think there ever will be a male traitor this series. I think the girls are keeping it girl code only, which absolutely fair and valid, honestly. So we've got breakfast, and there's a few suspicions flying around. Joe's feeling quite guilty because of the way he got rid of Kaz, and honestly, he should be feeling guilty. Then you've got Leanne, who obviously had one of the shields, telling Lisa, and Lisa being like, oh, and just making herself look a little bit suspicious. So Leanne's a little bit wary of her. But I found it funny that the first person that she turned to and went, by the way, was Mina. I just find that hilarious. Everybody really seems to trust Mina, which puts her in a fantastic position. Puts her in a precarious one for late game, because then people are going to be like, oh, I'm really sorry, but we have to start looking in different directions. We haven't looked in your direction, Mina. I feel like she needs to do something that makes her look a little bit suspicious, but she's able to talk her way out of, so that people will go, oh, well, we have brought her name up, kind of thing. Because you don't want to end up in a situation like, was it Amanda in season 1? Where everyone was like, oh, there's just one thing that you've done in the late game and we don't have anything to vote anybody else off, so we're just going to take the chance on you. And it's like, oh, fuck. She fucked up her own game with one silly mistake that she would have been able to talk her way out of had it have been earlier on in the game. So I feel like there's layers to this game, but Mina needs to do something that makes her a little bit more suspicious, so that they can talk about her, but then she's got enough of a defense to quell that. So before we head to the mission, just some more suspicions for you. We've got Anna, Livy, and Leanne wondering whether the traitor could be Lisa, because obviously Anna knows that someone tried to recruit her last night, and she wonders whether it is Lisa, and wondering whether Lisa wants to throw her under the bus. Obviously, it's not Lisa, and I feel bad because this group of girls is really riding Lisa's name out there. Just sort of like, oh, it must be Lisa, it must be Lisa, it must be Lisa. And I'm just sitting there thinking, no, you couldn't be more wrong. You've picked the wrong old woman. no, what are you doing here? So then Freddie and Mina started to talk about how potentially one of the clique could be a traitor. Every time I think of the clique, I just think of we are the clique. You know, the X Factor people. That was funny. And every time I heard the word clique, I was like, it was so funny. And then last but not least, we had Charlotte, Dan, and Alex wondering whether Tyler could potentially be a traitor. And then last but not least, the clique were hilariously wrong because they're just so on the wrong side with going for Freddy. Like, I don't know why you would go for Freddy based off of one little bit of information. Like, it wasn't even a big bit of information. I was literally sitting there like, what are these guys doing? They're actually Muppets. Muppets. So the mission was actually a really interesting one because I think I clocked on to what was going on before anybody else did. And I don't think anybody actually worked it out. I think the closest people came to figuring it out was Fran and Alexander, but we'll get into that in a second. The idea was it was like a creepy fun fair place and it was like, ooh, this is cool, this is interesting. And I thought it was cool because they had to take balloons through, but they had to pick one of 4 doors. 3 of them would lead to a clown stabbing their balloon out, and that means they lost 1,000 of the potential money they could add to the prize pot. But then one of them was the correct way forward. Now, I worked out very early on that it was just a simple case of what's the odd door out, because they all had different patterns on, or they all had different like arrangements of patterns, but there was a clear odd one out in each batch. The first one, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was something to do with the pattern and the colors included. And then the second one was, well, there was only 4 dots on the door, all the other doors had 5. Then the third one was like, oh, this is the only one with the pattern going up as opposed to sideways. Then the 4th door was it was like the one that had stars on it, and none of the other doors did. And then the final door, I couldn't work that one out because I didn't show all of the doors off. But I was very dead certain that it was the correct answer was the odd door out. But they didn't tell them that. It was for them to work it out themselves. So for the first like 3 or 4 groups, they were just trialing and error in it. And I was like, look at the doors and study them. Also, their descriptions of the doors was so frustrating because I was like, were they told that they weren't allowed to go, okay, from left to right, 1 to 4, I'm going through door 2. I thought that was such an easy way to explain it, but they must have been told you have to describe the doors, not number them or hint to their position or anything. They must have been told that, because otherwise that was a massive oversight by literally everybody, and I feel like that's too big of an oversight for everybody to have missed that. They must have been told. But either way, I was very, very impressed that Leanne and Leon were the first team to make it through, meaning that they guaranteed themselves safety that night. They have a shield, which is great. And I have to say, I like Leon and Leanne a lot more after this episode. There's somebody else I'm not a fan of anymore, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I did find it hilarious how they made it through just by being like, potentially it's this one. Potentially it's this one. And they just got lucky. And last but not least, they managed to raise £6,000, I think it was in the end. They did quite a good job, actually. So before we get into the round table, I just have 3 different sets of suspicions that I need to talk about. The first being Fozia trying to trip Linda up in the dining banquet area. Now, I'm not sure whether we've seen this on the UK version before, but I don't remember seeing them like going for the food before. I just remember like seeing them eating and not really knowing where the food came from. And it was only when I watched the US version, when they actually show the canteen like in the dining area, I was like, oh, that's where they're getting the food from. Right, that makes sense. I don't know whether they've shown it on the UK version before. I can't remember, but they have definitely this series, because obviously this scene took place there. So Fozia was like, oh, why did you guys volunteer to go first? Like, that's a bit sus, isn't it? Because like, if you were traitors, then you'd already have the shields. And I was like, no, actually, it's more suspicious if you don't speak up and don't go first, because then you are trying to take shields away from people that are faithful. I was like, sometimes I think people are stumbling across the right answers with the wrong working, and it's so frustrating. It's so unbelievably frustrating because I just want to go, actually, no, you got it wrong. You're not allowed to banish me because you haven't got the method right. It's like if this was a maths exam and you got the right answer but the wrong workings, you'd get 1 out of 6 points. You wouldn't get 6 out of 6, you get 1 out of 6 because you only got the answer right. Your method was wrong. Oh, Jesus. But anyway, they were talking in the like kitchen. This was Fran, Fozia, and Lisa. And then Linda came in and was like, Lisa, I need to talk to you. And Lisa was like, okay. And then when they left, Fozia was like, Fran, did you see that? Like, that's odd. And then outside, Linda was like, oh, Fozia's really getting on my tits. And then in a confessional, she was like, Fozia's got to go. She's got to go. And honestly, as much as I love Fozia, she does got to go. She's too good at this game. She got to go. She got to go. She got to get out. I want Linda and Mina to win this, and Fozia is standing in their way. They should have recruited her or attempted to recruit her. So jarring. So, this next bit really, really changed my opinions on some people. Freddie brought up the fact that he felt like a clique was forming, and suddenly, Leon and Tyler were like, there's no clique, there's no group. Like, what do you mean? What's going on here? And I was like, all we've seen from you on this show is the fact that you guys spend all your time with Leanne and Livy. That's all we've seen. Every single time you're having a secretive conversation, other people aren't allowed to join. That is giving clique energy. Okay, so maybe we should dial it down with the offensiveness. Like, oh my god, I can't believe you say that. Don't be so defensive. Because then Leanne from across the room was like, what are you saying about me, Freddie? And I was just like, did you call us a clique? That's so offensive. How could you call us a clique? That's so rude. And I was like, what? And then Livy gets involved. Livy wasn't even in the room at the time. But she starts getting involved, start piping up. Little yapper mouth. I was like, oh my goodness, this is just getting out of hand now. Because essentially, they were claiming, like, we haven't been pushing a narrative, like, that you're the traitor. And I was like, yeah, you have. Yeah. Like, for the last 3 roundtables, you've been... last 2... Obviously, this would be the 3rd. You've been dredging up the fact that Freddie's a traitor, Freddie's a traitor, Freddie's a traitor. He's not a traitor, and you're wrong. They're like, we haven't been pushing a narrative. And he's like, but you're literally gunning for me. So how is that not pushing a narrative? And then they're like, there isn't a clique. And I'm just like, oh, for goodness sake. Just get over it. And then, fortunately, other people chime in and they're like, we have been noticing that you guys just spend a lot of time together. So, like, maybe just go speak to Freddie and just, like, hash it out. Fortunately, like, Freddie was in the middle of apologising to Leanne when Leon walks in. And then Leanne's like, Leon, I just don't think he's a traitor. I just don't think he is. I think we're barking up the wrong tree. And obviously, you've got Leanne and Leon now listening to Freddie being like, I think it might be someone in your group. And if I'm going to pick someone, it's going to be Tyler. And then all of a sudden, they're like, is it Tyler? Rah. Maybe it is. And to be fair, Tyler's been moving mad sus. Tyler's been like the Peter of this series. If you've watched US2, you know who I mean. He's been sort of like the one rabble-rousing, trying to look like he's the most innocent person there. And I think that's kind of working as a detriment to him because it's almost too much being a faithful. Even though he is a faithful, it's too much. You've got to get the right balance of doing enough, but not doing too much. And he hasn't quite got that. But yeah, I really struggled to watch Livy on screen after this. Her argument with Freddie was just obnoxious and didn't paint her in a particularly great light. So, yeah, I didn't vibe with her, I'm sorry. So, last but not least, before we head into the round table, I just wanted to point out that Charlotte, Joe and Fran are questioning Lisa. And they're starting to pick up on the whole religious moments that she has, like the randomness that comes with, like, may God be my witness and things like that. Like, just the random things that she says. But obviously she's hiding the fact that she's a priest. So I was like, why would you hide the fact that you're a priest? Like, there's no point hiding that. And we'll talk about why later. But there's just no point in hiding it because it does just make you look like you're holding other secrets as well. So, the round table happened and it was a juicy one. Juicy with a capital J. So, Leon starts by going, guys, I'm not in any clique whatsoever. So, I actually think it might be Tyler. And Tyler's like, what? There is no evidence for that whatsoever. And I was thinking, there isn't evidence for you being a traitor, but like there's evidence of you doing shifty, dodgy stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like Leanne was like, sometimes I catch you out the corner of my eye, just being like, whenever you said something. And he's like, that's just because I smile. Am I not allowed to smile anymore? And I was like, he's got a point, to be fair. He has got a point. And then Dan was like, you took massive amounts of credit for Armani's, like, banishment when all you did was swoop in at the last minute and say something at the end of the round table. And then all of a sudden it was like, I told you guys, making out like you were this hero that had managed to banish Armani and you were trying to con everyone into believing that you were the reason she went home. And he's like, nah. And then Livy is basically defending him, and it just was a bit of a weak defense. It was kind of like, oh no, I don't think he would do it. I don't think he would. And then Jake was like, I think he would though. It does seem a little bit suspicious, I can't lie. And then Jake was saying something like, I'm here because either you, Linda, are a traitor or you, Tyler, are a traitor. And I was like, he's so right, though. He's so right. And it hurts. It hurts. Because the only reason he is here is because he keeps bringing up Linda. And honestly, I think at this point, they should just kill him off. Just get rid of him. And then it would be like... So clearly... It wasn't Tyler keeping him here, and it wasn't Linda keeping him here. He was just outserved his purpose. I feel like they need to get rid of him sooner rather than later. So then the attention was diverted to Lisa. Anna brought up Lisa's sort of bubbly to meek attitude. The way that she was on the coach is very different to the way that she is now. And I was like, oh, that is a good point. And often we do see like a change in people. But I think it's less of a thing to do with them becoming traitors and more just becoming part of the game and realizing that, oh, I can't be this bubbly, over-the-top person. She was like, oh, a lot of the people that I liked have gone home, so I just feel quite withdrawn. And I was like, really? Really? Like, of the people that have left, you liked them? What? I had no idea. Like, I actually had no clue. That was the thing. So when she said that, I was like, ooh. And then Mina was like, look at your voting record. You have a very rogue voting pattern. And this is the thing about Mina. She always jumps in and adds stuff in at the right time. It's always good evidence at the right time. And so that she appears to be vocal around the round table. She's not afraid to speak up like some people are. It's actually very interesting to see how she's playing this. She's playing very middle of the pack. Nobody's calling her out on anything. No one's acknowledging that she exists in the game more than these few moments where they're like, good point, Mina, which is so good for her as a traitor. It's exactly the same as Sari in Series 1, actually, of US. She's playing a very tight, good game where she has good allies as well. If she makes it to the end, she's going to have to backstab some people. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. But yeah, the rogue voting pattern. Apparently she voted for Joe, Charlotte and Fran across 3 round tables. And I think that is quite ridiculous. That is quite ridiculous indeed. So I do feel like there's just a lot of randomness going on with Lisa that she's not actually able to explain. Leanne brought up the whole, like, oh, comment to the shield being brought up. And then Charlotte was questioning her about the religion. It just felt like things were piling up on Lisa that she wasn't quite able to explain. She kind of just went, vote me out, go for it. Like, it's fine by me. I don't care. I actually don't care. And actually, I feel like that complacent sort of like, nonchalant attitude could actually work in her favour, because people will be like, is she actually doing this? Or maybe she just actually is like, get rid of me. It's fine. I feel like a traitor would put up more of a defence for them rather than just whatever. I don't really want to bring this up again, but Livy started on Freddie again, and then everyone was like, no, it's not Freddie, it's not Freddie, it's not Freddie. And then she starts being like, everyone's looking at me really badly. You all hate me. And I was like, this girl has got such a victim complex that it's actually so jarring to watch her just engage with this game, because she takes everything as a personal attack on her when it really isn't. This whole clique thing isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you guys are a group that like each other and get to know each other, and you've just formed a little bubble in terms of working together in this game. It's not a bad thing. We're not saying that you're bullying anyone. you weren't great to Kaz. Although that wasn't really you, it was more other people. But yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just so jarring. So, voting time has come around and the votes were as follows. Anna voted for Lisa. Alexander voted for Lisa. Mina voted for Tyler. Leanne voted for Tyler. Leon voted for Tyler. Dan voted for Tyler. Linda voted for Tyler. Livy voted for Freddie. Tyler voted for Freddie. Fran voted for Tyler. Joe voted for Tyler. Fozia voted for Lisa. Lisa voted for Tyler. Freddie voted for Tyler. Alex voted for Tyler. Charlotte voted for Tyler. Jake voted for Tyler. So, at the end of the round table, we have our first overwhelming majority with 12 people voting for Tyler, 2 for Freddie and 3 for Lisa. That is wild and crazy. That's wild and crazy. I did not expect that. That's absolutely bonkers. So yeah, very, very impressed with that. That was juicy round table. So obviously Tyler went and Livy was like, I told you so. Where? And I just thought, actually, at this point, I'm just so done with her. Can we kill her off? You know how, like, we voted off Armani and then we killed off Maya the next day because it was like, oh, what's the point of keeping the sister around? Can we do the same with Livy, please? Because I just can't hack her anymore. It's so jarring and I'm so done. I'm so over it. Oh, God. But bye, Tyler. It was nice knowing you. You look like a B-Tech version of one of my friends. So, yeah, good on you. So, before we head up to Traitor's Tower, just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. Jake quizzed Linda a little bit, and I thought Linda managed to hold her own. I feel like Jake is, like, kind of suspicious of her, but they have, like, a playful banter with it that it's, like, quite funny. And I think he thinks it's her, but doesn't necessarily, like, 100% believe it. He's just like, oh, it could be Linda. It would be good if it was Linda, innit? But, like, I don't think he's 100% like, it has to be her kind of thing. Then Lisa gathered everybody into the same room and was like, guys, I'm an ordained Anglican priest. And that means that when I say God is my witness, I mean it. So when I said God is my witness, I am faithful, that means I was telling the truth. So now you know I'm 100% faithful. And people were like, oh, lovely, wonderful. And then Anna was like, in her confessional, well, she could be lying. She could be lying about that. She already lied about being a priest. She might be lying about not being a priest. So I was like, this is actually quite funny. Anna is still massively suspicious. And speaking of Anna, she went up to Charlotte before the night ended and was like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I got blackmailed last night and was asked to join. And I declined. And I said no. And Charlotte was like, this is juicy. Because obviously Anna thinks she's dying tonight. I don't think she will, though. I don't think she will. And I think this is important information to keep to herself. Because the longer she keeps it to herself, the less of a threat she is to the traitors. As soon as she reveals it, chop, done. Off with your head. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Traitor's Tower, they came up with Fozia, Anna, and Livy. I think the smart choice is Fozia. The choice I want is Livy. The choice I think they're going to go with is Anna. So really, it's just a wild and crazy time. I think Fozia is the smartest because she's just too good at the game. She's too observant and she's noticed things that other people haven't. As for Livy, she's just annoying. She's just annoying and I've had enough. And it's if her dying means that Freddie gets banished, I want her to die in the game, obviously. But then I want her to be around for when Freddie inevitably gets banished and she has to sit there and eat humble pie because she voted out another faithful because she was so certain that it was Freddie. I was so certain it was Freddie. It's not Freddie. Bestie, it's not any of the boys. That's the one thing that all of these guys are missing and it's hilarious is that not a single man is a traitor. And that's hysterical. But that is it for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. Do all of that YouTube stuff that you guys do so well. And I will see you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now.